early on, if you don't have the resources, don't be your own bottleneck is the first thing I would say. Because a part of like growing your wealth is also understanding when you're being your own bottleneck. You can only do so much by yourself. And so understanding what you need to do to get to the next level. If you don't have the funds right now to hire somebody on your team, ask yourself, can you at least start with a VA? One virtual assistant. Can you do that? If you can't, that's fine as well. But like really think about what can you do for somebody who can give you resources? Is there somebody you can partner with who can provide those resources, up to a certain point? It's really about understanding who, like distribution channels, like what do you need to do to get your offer out there? How do you get people to even know about your offer so that you can start to sell it, right? Again, think about distribution channels, think about partnerships, think about who you could help solve a problem for that has a big audience that you could tap into.
Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Legacy's Journey, where we talk about creating what outlives you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for marketing agencies so that they can live the dream life they deserve and not be a slave to their business. And we do that through accounting, CFO services, and consulting. Now, it's been a while, tax season came, the extensions. We do a lot of traveling because a lot of industry conferences are going on. And, I had to go to the Go High Level conference that was in Dallas. That was always fun. They always got a party. And, you get to meet people when you're out and about, right? You got people that, oh, I've seen you on Facebook. Oh, it's so good to see you in person. Then you meet some of the vendors, right? And the vendors are there. They working hard. They standing at their booths. They're trying to get their signups. And you get to talking to them. And of course, they're cool people. And I think this was the last night when they were doing like this big robot futuristic party. I don't even know how I ended up over there, but some kind of way, I end up over at this booth by a company called Hey Levi. So I start talking to somebody and we just start laughing. And when you start laughing with people, that's some good signs of like, it's a cool person. So I did, we kept talking. We took some pictures with these fancy robots. And so I was like, hey, I think it'll be a good job if you come on and share your story. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ruheen Jara is here. And I'm going to let her do her own intro because, you guys know about AI for marketing agencies. That's nothing new. But I want her to go into like how she got here, her story, her journey, and of course, what is Hey Levi? Because you may need that for your agency. Welcome.
Hey, Cameron. Thank you for having me. Super excited to be here. And yes, it was weird how we met. I think it was just so last minute right at the end of the conference. And it was so fun because I don't even remember what we were talking about, but I do remember laughing. And I do remember the robots that were like walking by us as we were
talking about kids. You were saying your kids were like upstairs playing on a bed. And then we were talking about your husband because he was like a few people over. Then we were talking about being tired.
Yes, all of that rings a bell. And definitely is very fitting for the last day of a summit like that. So it was fun times with my kids up there. But to start over, hey guys, I'm Ruheen. I'm the founder and CEO of Hey Levi, which is a branding and marketing and sales enablement and content creating AI app. It does a lot, but really in a very streamlined way. And so it's very brand focused, strategy focused. We like to call it strategy AI because everyone's talking about content AI, conversational AI, all these other kinds of AI. And it's really about the strategy that feeds everything that you do, whether it's other AI efforts or just regular non-AI business efforts. So that's in a nutshell what Hey Levi helps you do is create a brand strategy, create a strategy for every single offer or product that you sell, understand your customers on this really, really deep level, like your friends, your family. It really helps you understand your customers on that level and then create sales copy and marketing content from there. Cameron, I think you were also asking how I got started. So
tell the people like how many years have you been doing it? Like where did you work at the beginning? What led you? Because I'm guessing this isn't your first company. So there were some things and events that led up to here. So tell us like when did you start, etc.
Well, so I've had a 16-year career in visual effects, and that was about 8 years in visual effects. And then I also did a lot of digital marketing and product marketing on the side. So basically, my primary career, in the early stages of my career, was working for brands like Marvel, Iron Man 2, The Avengers. Yeah, so much you don't know about me when you meet someone at the end of a conference, right? But yeah, I got to work on some really cool movies, do some small pieces and really big projects, but really just got to learn a lot, which was great. And then these projects would last like 3, 4, 5 months, and then there would be a lull in between film projects. And so I would get loaned out to another advertising company where we got to do some tech launches. So I was a part of the Apple iPhone 5 launch back in 2012, the Amazon Fire Phone, which a lot of people don't remember, and it's totally okay, but that was in 2014. I was part of the Microsoft Vista, the Windows Vista launch. What else? We did Motorola and Sol Republic with Radio Shack launch for, it was called a Motorola Deck, Michael Phelps ad. But anyway, some cool stuff. We got to do a lot of tech launches, learn a lot about the product marketing side of things, in terms of positioning and messaging and all the stuff that goes into your strategy, which a lot of newer businesses are, with smaller budgets who don't have a product marketing team tend to kind of skip over. And then there's always this problem of trying to understand where the holes in their marketing and sales strategy is. And this all comes from this understanding of product marketing, especially if you're selling SaaS or anything digital or technical at all. So, um, I mean, that was about 16 years of my career. I did some digital marketing consulting after that. My first attempt at starting a company was a photography company. I decided to become a newborn photographer.
Okay.
Don't ask me about the transition there. I was a new mom. I had to let go of a lot of dreams and things that I was doing at the time. I was full force into my career, just got a scholarship for an MBA, had to let all that go to have my first child, who was a surprise baby. But after I had him and after I got over the whole, having your first child, by the way, just feels like you got hit by a truck. So after I got back up and I realized, okay, I still have some life to live, I decided to start my own thing because I didn't want to go back to any sort of corporate kind of world. Tried to launch a photography business, did that for about a year and a half. Quit for a few different reasons. Then I came into the high level world. I got hired by a high level agency to run their tech and be a Facebook ads coach in that group. And so that was a good learning experience. That's how I came into the high level world. But really, I've just always been the kind of person who wants to fix things. It's always been like that. So, personal life and in my professional life, I'm always looking for holes and pieces and puzzles that I can put together and fix for people to get them results. And that's the thing that gives me the most joy. And with Hey Levi, it came about because I started to look at some of the conversations that were happening early on, in the early days of high level, where people were scared of their customers finding out that they were white labeling high level, not wanting to compete with other high level agencies in the space and in their niches. And I really recognize that because of my background. I think I really recognize that as like at the core positioning problems, right? People trying to compete on price instead of value, worried about like how to compete on, with larger companies, larger agencies, all of that stuff. So when OpenAI came up with their Open API in 2022, I decided to have my developer husband build me a quick app that would use a lot of the positioning strategies that I had learned in my 16-year career, put that together. And we just kind of soft launched it in the market. And one thing led to another, and it's become such a valuable piece, I think, in so many high level agencies, both as a selling point and as a strategy point for their own agencies. And so that's in a nutshell how Hey Levi came to be.
Y'all.
I feel like that was a lot.
See, it was a lot of good. I didn't even know this whole. Okay, let's go back over the notes, and everybody knows we take notes. All right, strategy AI, which in and of itself is different, to be able to focus on brand strategy and copy, not just one piece, not just speeding it up. The visual effects for movies like, let's just say Marvel, that's crazy because we know how big of a global brand is. Marvel is the Windows Vista launch. Let's start digging here. Okay, Now you said this, I kind of felt that kind of like, ah, you said, all right, had to give up the NBA because you had the first kid. Now, I think one of the things that I've always found interesting, especially when we bring female guests on, is you ladies have to worry about something completely different than we do, right? Like I have a baby, my time is different now. Kind of walk us through like what does that feel like to I have a baby, but I want to start a business. How do I juggle that? Because I'm in year one. Like, talk us through like some of those things that you would encourage the next person that maybe is already successful, but now they're about to have the baby and they're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do?
Yeah, I would say, I had a really good, strong career path. I had my whole life laid out. I knew I was going to become, a producer in the film industry by the time I was 30. I had my whole life planned out. Everything was going according to plan. So yes, you bring up a good point because my husband and I have this conversation quite a bit about how different it is for a woman and a man. And I know that this is just it's such a debatable argument all around the world. But from personal
Which
experience,
is
yes,
crazy, by the way, because I mean, it's really simple. Women are heroes because they have whole humans growing inside of them. Continue.
yes, there's that. And I know a lot of dads, I look at these arguments, happening on social all the time, and I see both points of view. There's always an argument to be made for stay-at-home dads. But anyway, just speaking from my own personal experience, it was definitely I wanted to have kids. I wanted to have them at the right time when my career was like already taken, had already taken off, where I didn't feel like I would be letting go of anything crucial in my career path. And of course, it wasn't meant to be. A lot of different things happened all together. I lost my mom right before I turned 30. I got married to a guy I just met 2 months prior, and it was all in this rush to get married before my mom passed. And then, he had a big loss in his family right after, within a year. I got the MBA offer. I took it, got the scholarship, and then found that I was pregnant, and then I let it go. In hindsight, I could have done it all. I feel like I can push myself to some crazy limits, and I think a lot of us have that in us. When we really want something, we make it happen. But anyway, it was what it was at the time, and I decided to just give myself a break and kind of just take care of myself, take care of my child. And then when I started to really think about like, okay, what can I do with my skill set? Because I don't feel ready to, my child was like 6 months old when I started thinking about this stuff again. I wasn't ready to just, put him in somebody else's care and go back to work, which I know a lot of women do. And it's, kudos to everybody who finds their own path. I just personally wasn't ready at the time. And so for me to figure out what I could actually do with my life, what I could bring to the table, really that was my big turning point for me. And so photography has always been a passion of mine. It's a hobby. So I was like, you know what, maybe I can start taking pictures of my kid. And if I feel like they're worth sharing with other families, I could offer that as a service. And so that's how that went. Used all of my understanding of marketing and customers, customer research, did all of that, launched a pretty successful company. I never not, I was, my schedule was pretty booked. And so in that way it was successful enough, but it did take a toll on me, my family life, at home, my family itself. So a lot of different things, a lot of different reasons why that one didn't work out. Try to launch a second, agency where I was doing ManyChat services. If any of you guys know ManyChat, chatbots, really got into that in a big way. I think in about 2019 is when I got into that in a big way. Right before the pandemic hit, I wanted to bring that to businesses again. For me, I'm always trying to fix problems and solve something for someone else. It just gives me more pleasure than anything else. And so at the time, I also had a friend whose business was actually going down when the pandemic hit. She and her husband had a very successful bagel franchise. They were just about opening their new one. They had spent a couple of $100,000 on the second location. It's going to be a big grand opening. And then the pandemic hit, and they found that they weren't able to open, and they weren't able to actually even keep their doors open. And so they were on the verge of foreclosing. So kind of jumped in with them, helped them build a website, helped them build an online ordering system, gave them, some ManyChat stuff. to help make all of that easier. Ran some ads for them, did some door-to-door delivery services. They did it. I just helped facilitate some of that. So um, just a lot of things. I think it's finding your groove. To answer your question more specifically, Cameron, I think finding your groove after having a child is definitely a challenge for a lot of us, because it's not just about like what skills do we have, it's about what transferable skills we have, what can transfer from our pre-kid life to our post-kid life, because those two lives are pretty different.
I like that. I like that. Okay, let's keep going. So, okay, you said let's get into like the whole hired by high level, which kind of got your foot in the door, but having the husband that's a developer. So I think right now everybody knows, if unless you're sleeping under a rock, high level is like one of the top companies, top softwares, and they're now kind of moving into, as opposed to let's get a super wide range of things. Now we want to start getting deeper. So, how did you come to the conclusion? I guess is the best way to put it, that what you're creating is a perfect thing to integrate that would help their people.
Again, I'm always solving problems. So as long as you're trying to solve somebody's problem and then take a look at if that solution is scalable, you have a business idea. That's really the most important thing that I can tell somebody who's trying to find their groove, or trying to find if they have the right niche, have the right business idea. Are you solving a problem, and is it scalable? I think a lot of us do get to a point where we know we want something different. We don't want to continue doing what we've been doing. And so and I was one of them, and I started the whole photography business. I wasn't really solving a problem. I was trying to just figure out how I could make money. And that's perfectly fine. A lot of us find ourselves at this, it happens to folks at different parts of their lives, different times, sometimes multiple times. But we all kind of come to this point where we're like, okay, what can I do to support my family, live the kind of life that I want to, um, you know, take care of myself and my family, or whoever's important to me in my life, and also live my best life and make money, right? So it's all about how to bring that together. But I think the thing that really clicked for me is understanding that, as long as it's the same thing that I just said, as long as you are solving a problem for someone, and that solution is scalable, that is when you know that you have the right product to sell. Which I should say that high level has made it extremely easy for us, because if you know anything about any industry, whatever your past experience is, whether you want to continue on in that industry or not, it's really understanding what do you know about the people in that industry, what are the problems that they have, and how can you solve it, what are the stories, what are their stories, what do their lives look like, what do they struggle with, and how can you fix that for someone, and then also scale it to fix that for more than just one person.
Okay, I hope y'all got that. What do you know about the people in that industry, and how can you solve that? That is super important. Okay, so now we're at Hey Levi. It's launched. How long has Hey Levi specifically been in existence?
I love the question that you just asked, which is how long has it been in existence? Because I love telling people the exact date that we checked in our first line of code. I don't know why it's this geeky little thing that we like to just geek out over. But our first line of code was submitted on October 17th, 2022. It's what we consider is Hey Levi's birthday. But we didn't really start to market or get it out there until a whole year later. So literally October 17th, 2023 is when we did our first webinar, released, announced it to the world, and since then we've been going.
Okay, so basically a little over a year. Tell the people, because everybody, you know the drill. Everybody's like, oh, I want to do SaaS. It's so good. Oh, I can build my own AI. I don't need y'all. Tell the people, like, AI in and of itself is challenging, right? It's not as simple as just type. It's not like Google. You have to know how to really work it, integrate it into your systems. So tell some people, like, in regards to Hey Levi, how would you best be able to, or you can even keep it to AI in general, how would you best suggest that they go about doing that? How can they use this and turn around and maybe resell it to other clients, or utilize it to better perform for clients? What do they need to be thinking about, looking through, etc.?
Yeah, something that you just said, Cameron, which is AI in and of itself is hard to do. It's really not. AI is really easy to use. It's what you get from AI, right? So if you're trying to get something that doesn't sound like everybody else, that actually sounds authentically like you, like your brand, reflects your values, that's the hard part. Because what I see a lot of folks doing with AI is that, everyone's kind of in these groups and in these webinars and even in person presentations. When I go to summits and conferences, I see presentations where somebody will have a slide of the perfect prompt in their mind, and then everybody is like, oh, can you go back to that slide, and they have to go back to that slide like 5 times, just so that everyone can get a picture of it, because it's like a lifeline. I think everyone's trying to look for that perfect prompt that's going to solve all of their problems. And the reality of it is, AI is just developing so quickly that a prompt that works well today is not going to work well tomorrow. It's just the reality of it. So having this whole library of prompts that you're going to copy and paste until the end of time is not a scalable solution. You know how we were talking about, yes, you need a solution, but it needs to be scalable. And so it's really understanding, first of all, who are you as a brand? What does your brand stand for, right? Like I talked about the launches for Apple and Amazon that I happened to be a part of years ago. Apple iPhone 5 in 2012, the Fire Phone in 2014. One was a clear success. Apple's iPhone 5 was a huge success. They made $3 billion over their launch weekend, one weekend. It was a 3-day weekend. And the Amazon Fire Phone, I mean, whatever their launch period was, I can't remember right now. It was I don't know, somewhere between 6 weeks, or somewhere between a month and a half to 3 months. I can't remember exactly. But over that entire time, they lost about $17 million. And it all comes, they're both strong brands, but if you really think about it, Apple leads from a brand strategy. They built their brand first, and now every product that they release is connected to that brand, to that overall vision that they've already sold you, right? They've already sold you of this, futuristic world, which, we want today, where all of our tech is connected. It's easy to use. We don't have to keep restarting our devices. Everything just works. Everything just connects to each other. It feels like an extension of ourselves, right? That is what Apple is, the vision that Apple has sold to you if you're an Apple user. Whereas Amazon is a strong brand. We believe and we trust in the brand, but everything that they release is product led. And there's nothing wrong with product led. It's done really well for them, but it's important to understand why it's done well for them and where a brand led approach could have maybe been a stronger approach for them. And the reason I say that is because when the Fire Phone failed, it actually had much stronger features, much cooler, never seen before features compared to the iPhone 5 when it came out. The iPhone 5 was literally like a tiny bit thinner, tiny bit, like everything, and less than half an ounce lighter or something like that, or less than an ounce lighter. And they positioned it as the best thing to happen to the iPhone since the iPhone. It sounds ridiculous, but if you think about it, it fits perfectly with their brand strategy. And that's why it sells. That's why Apple sells, because they continue to release products. Some of them are great, some of them are not so great, but they all sell out because of this brand vision that they've sold their people already, right? And so there's more forgiveness when they do release a product that maybe doesn't go as well or doesn't perform as well as what was expected. Whereas when Amazon releases a product or a feature in one of their products that maybe doesn't go as well, people won't give it another chance because it's all product led. It's all about the product and its features, and it's not this larger vision that they're selling you, if that makes sense. So it's just important to understand the difference. And as smaller businesses, now that we can leverage I see a lot of smaller businesses trying to grow using AI to simply fuel their content. That's not coming from a place of strategy. That content is only going to go so far. And so that's what Hey Levi does. Hey Levi really helps agencies and their customers, their white label customers, understand their position in the market, help them understand their unique value propositions, helps them understand their customers on a really, really deep level so that you can speak their language, like actually get into their heads and speak their language. And then everything, all of your marketing and sales efforts kind of emanate from that core brand strategy.
Yeah. I hope y'all got it. She just gave y'all a whole like master class in like 5 minutes. Like that breakdown. Okay. I want to go back because I think it's very easy to gloss over because typically people don't think about it like that, right? Like to your point, Apple leads from a brand strategy, and I can say that because they even got me drinking the Kool Aid. I think this is an Apple iPhone. I think a 14. I think it ain't the new one. But to your point, it was the brand that drew me in. It was, dang, I want that to be able to have not necessarily the blue, but oh, there's that functionality. Oh, it can link with my computer. Oh, everything is talking to each other. And to your point, it was the brand. And I never thought about Amazon until you just simplified it, where Amazon is about the products. You can get whatever product, but we're not selling you that it's the best product. We're just letting you know you can get whatever product, which is two completely different things.
Yeah.
And so I think that is so key, even as service professionals, that we have to make sure we lead with that brand versus, like, I'll use me in my case. Can't just be about accounting, because there's a lot of people that do that. But what is the brand or the vision that we try to put out there that resonates with other people? And yes, we just happen to do this. So I think I really, 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 really hope y'all got that. Not to mention, if you go back to what she said earlier about the Marvel piece, that's a brand. Marvel is a brand. Iron Man, brand. Avengers, a brand. It's not as simple as just, oh, anything we put out, it'll work. Why or why not is because the brand backing it. So I loved how you broke that down. Okay, I'm not gonna geek out anymore. All right, let's keep these questions rolling. All right, I can go so many more ways now that you've given us this full background. Let's go with being a woman-led business. Now, I'm sure you've seen stuff that I probably would never see. Some I probably would, being a minority. But like, tell us kind of the reality of that, right? Because it's one thing to be like, no, it's equal across the board for everybody. But as a woman led business owner, and you know your stuff, your resume is top notch. Do you still think that it's harder to get into certain rooms or opportunities? Do you think it's balanced and it's fair game for everybody? It's just whoever's the best is the best. Like, walk us through that so that we can A, fully understand, and maybe even B, figure out different ways that we can support in regards to opening up different doors and opportunities, or maybe even recognizing those different biases in ourselves that we need to be working on so that we have that fair play field.
Yeah, I think recognizing the biases in ourselves before anything else is key, and I love that you said that because I think everything else kind of comes from there. As a woman and as a woman of color, absolutely, I do think that there are multiple, situations, and having launched this business, where I've had, some competitor companies, I would say, really come at me because again, I'm guessing, and I don't want to, speak with confidence here. But from what I'm told from our customers, when they move from a different company to us, I hear those stories about why they moved. I see a few people move over, and then those companies, like reach out to me with, sometimes very strong language. And it's always interesting to me because I always wonder, and I just don't know, in all honesty. So if you're listening to this going, I think she's overthinking it, it's quite possible. But because of the background, because of, I was born and raised in India. So I came here for college. Ever since, I've been here, I've always been very conscious of the difference in my accent, which now sounds a lot more American because I've had tons of years of experience. But when I first got here, I would say, water. And people would be like, what are you saying? Anyway, so things like that. And so I've kind of got that constantly at the back of my head. Like, how am I coming across? Am I coming across like one of them? It's all about, building that rapport with whoever you're talking to. Right. And when when you feel like you don't belong, it's harder to build that rapport with someone. And in the business world, building rapport is everything. If you can't build rapport, you can't make a sale. It's just that simple. And so there's a lot of that I've carried through my years, it being in college, being in the film industry. And so, yes, I still carry that with me today. I try and look at it from a neutral lens on an ongoing basis, not for any other reason, but because it's healthier for me. But yes, absolutely. I do get some, messages from some competing companies who have similar products to us, not the same product, but similar products. And I do feel, sometimes that there's some strong arming, and that goes on in every business. It goes on between men as well. But it's really, how I approach it and how I deal with it. But it is what I'm trying to say is there's always this question of would this be happening if I were, let's say, a guy, a man, and more importantly, would this be happening if I was a white male? I mean, I'm just going to say it. So yes, I
Hey, this
have
is my podcast. You can say whatever you need to say.
that.
But I mean, I understand because to your point, like I remember this was years ago. I went to a networking event in person, and it's like I went to the person, and he barely even he didn't even speak and acknowledge me at all. And I'm just sitting there at the table, like, oh, okay, oh, this looks nice, like trying to be super obvious. I walk away. Somebody else that was white came to the table. He's all in their face. I'm like, okay. And these things happen, and I think it's so interesting, especially being a business owner. You don't even recognize this stuff until it happens, and you're like, "Dang, I didn't know that was a problem, or I didn't even know it was like that." I'm just trying to make money, just like you. And to your point, you have to kind of be all things to all people. Like, I want to be able to have a conversation with a white male and be just as respected as if I have one with a black male or an Asian male or whatever. So that's definitely something that I'm finding, especially with minorities, is uniform across. Because I used to think it was just me, but now I'm finding like, oh no, everybody thinks these thoughts. It's just we don't ever talk about them until we get into situations like this. So I think that's super cool that you are able to say like, I realize people may have biases. I just have to carry myself the best way for me and keep it moving. So I think that's awesome.
And if I can
Okay.
throw in a Marvel reference here really quick, I can't remember exactly which movie this was from right now. It's kind of I'm kind of blanking on that, but there's a reference where I think I know who it is, but I don't want to misquote. But anyway, it's this one character's mother, I believe it's the mother, who tells her the advice that she gives her is to be a tree. And what that means to me is to stand rooted in whatever you believe in. It doesn't matter about external biases. It doesn't matter what your internal biases are. It doesn't really matter as long as you know that what you're doing is right. What you're doing is helping people. You know that you're leading from a set of core values that you deeply believe in, and as long as you've got that, you've got it all, right? You just stay rooted in what you know is right, and let the world change around you. Like, don't move, don't budge.
Be a tree.
Be a
Let's
tree.
stay right there for another second. So, in regards to representation, how do you feel that relates to you? So, like, I'd say, for example, African Americans in accounting, super low, very rarely see them, don't have a personality because then it's like two of y'all. Or like in working with marketing agencies, there's not a lot of African American ones that are at the 7-figure, 8-figure mark. So just in knowing those things, it's like I gotta kind of I can target a certain group, but then I gotta target. So like, how does that work for you? Being from, in your case, India, right?
Hmm.
What do you feel like is representation great in your field? Being this is mostly tech software, do you think it should be better? How can we get more people to give those opportunities to people of your nationality, etc.?
That's a tough one for me because I do think, like you said, being Indian, we are considered already like that is the bias, right? Like, if you will. It's a good thing for us, but we are considered technical. We're considered hard workers. We are considered people who get the job done. Um, Sadly, unfortunately, also usually cheaper than maybe local talent.
Have you
Um,
seen that in regards to when you tell people your prices? They're like, "Oh, I thought it would be cheaper."
Yeah, we get that. We get that. Again, it's always like speculation where you kind of ask, is it because, of who I am, or is it just, because something that I learned when I was getting trained in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming, is, when people ask this is too expensive, the natural response is compared to what? Like, compared to an inferior product, compared to somebody else's product, compared to what you're doing right now that isn't actually working for you, like compared to what?
Hell, that's good. That's good. I'm gonna just let that one sit. That's good. Okay, let's keep going. This is so good. Okay, let's switch it up a little bit. Okay, So you've been doing this 2 years. It's been live a year. So now we got to talk about money. We can't be on here and not talk about money, the finances, etc. Tell people what it's like to go from, and I'm not saying you were broke or had financial issues before, but just to go from regular getting paid a salary, like from high level or whatever the case, to like, I'm a business owner. I've never seen this much hit my bank account at once before. Like, tell us about that mindset shift and how you had to maybe possibly change money habits and how you handled money and now paying a team. And what is that like for you?
It's definitely been a really cool journey. One thing though, I need to kind of clarify. I've never worked for high level. My entry into the high level world was when I got hired by a high level agency. This was a white label high level agency that I worked for, and that's where I did a lot of the tech. Overseeing people's tech in that agency, helping customers with their tech issues, with their integration issues, things like that. So anyway, just wanted to clarify that no, I have never worked for high level. But to answer your question, it's definitely a very interesting shift. And for years, I did wonder why I couldn't break that ceiling. Like, I mean, initially I couldn't even get to $10,000 a month. Like it was just so hard, right? And so when I first met my business partner and he was talking about 100K months, I was like, wow, it must be nice to be able to just sit there, go talking about like 100K months. That was like huge to me. And I was like, how do I even get to 10K? Like right now, I don't even know that. Of course, we've come a long way since then. But I think you kind of, at some point the shift happened when you start to believe that, and this is not quoting me, this is just quoting other people that I listened to, because I felt like there was some mindset issues there. I think a lot of us just grow up with hearing that we need to be more careful with money, not overspend. I mean, a lot of us listening, I think would resonate with this because I come from a simple family. My dad was is a retired Indian Air Force officer who fought for the country, so not all that simple, I guess. But in terms of money, we were living off of government pay. We had very little. We used to live in houses that they used to give us. We had ration come to us in this big truck where they would give us like lentils and rice and things like that. Kind of weird to think now about that because it was such a part of life. But I would talk to my friends who were not from the Air Force, and it always kind of struck me that they always had so much more money. I wanted a dollhouse growing up. We could never afford a dollhouse. We moved to America for a year because my dad was invited to this program where they invited people from all over the country and armed forces from all over the country to do this program. Lived in Montgomery, Alabama, which is always fun to talk about, for a whole year. And it was so interesting to me because when we moved here, we needed a telephone, not a cell phone, just a telephone. And we went to Walmart and we were worried that we couldn't afford it. So that's kind of where I come from. Not big, not a big business family or any kind of money or any even understanding of money. So I think there's a lot of that I think is important because when I felt like I was just struggling and overworking myself and not making enough money to even sustain my own business, sustain myself, it really took some soul searching, to be honest with you, to kind of think about why that might be. And so I would hear speakers talk about like really go back into your childhood, like think about what beliefs you grew up with. Like, do you feel like you don't deserve money, that money's dirty, that all of these different things. And a lot of that resonated with me. Not that money was dirty, but mostly that, we need to live within our means. How many of us have heard that growing up? Like learn to live within your means, stop comparing yourself to other people. And while I think there's truth in that, it's really understanding that those beliefs shouldn't limit you today. Because now you have resources. Now you have, if you're here, you're probably, either trying to, thinking about starting a business or starting a business or have a business. And to really get to that next level, it's all about just expanding your brain and expanding your mind, and believing that money is yours. I started doing like 8-hour meditations and I still do them once in a while. There's somebody named Regan Hillier who I follow. She has an 8-hour sleep meditation on money. And so I listen to that very often, where it's just a sleep meditation and just keeps putting into your subconscious that money is good, you deserve it, it comes easy to you, all of those things. And I truly, truly believe that ever since I started doing these, I'm not a very woo person. I don't do a lot of mindset things, to be honest. So it's even uncomfortable for me to be talking about this stuff. But I do think a lot of that has come from just a mindset shift and then adding the strategy on top of that mindset shift. Does that answer your question? I know you were also asking about the feeling of like being able to, have a team and
Yeah,
be able to pay for a team. But I think all of that just kind of stems from that core belief having shifted, and then
I
knowing
agree with
that
you.
strategy. Yeah.
Yeah, because to your point, like I can even think about myself, like kind of similar, right? Where we were not rich by any means. My friends just so happen to have a lot of money, but for us, that just wasn't the life. My mom didn't work because she was like volunteering across the street at some church or something. And then, of course, we had adopted my three siblings. So she was staying at home while my stepdad worked. So, to your point, and that doesn't even get into the religious aspect of like, oh,
Mhm.
is money good or bad and all those different things. But I found that almost all the people that at least we've had on here, if they did come from humble beginnings, shall we say, it was some type of adjustment they had to make to be like, it's okay for me to make this. I'm not wrong because I made 50K in 1 month and other people don't. Hey, how can I utilize this to help give back or help others or give the charities or serve in my local, church
Exactly.
or whatever the thing is. So I think to your point, that is super important. And I think it's great that you addressed it. Now let's talk about the team because again, that's another mind shift set, right? Where you have to go from it's just me or like me and Bay because I know he's the developer.
Yep.
So it's just us versus like, ooh, let's hire this person. Now let's hire somebody to manage accounts. Now let's hire a manager to do like tell me that transition because those in and of themselves can be scary. Like
Yep.
we got how many people on payroll? Oh, we definitely got to make sales now. Like there's a whole thing that comes with that.
Absolutely. And I don't know where to start with that, but yeah, I think um, there's just so many things I can say about that. But yeah, let's start with like the first hire that we made. Um, I mean, my husband doesn't even work full time. He's a full time developer at Amazon still to this date. So everything that we've built together has been me full time on it, but it's been a nights and weekends project for him. So there's only so far you can go with that. And there was definitely a time when we started to burn out because we were developing the product, but it was really hard to find resources. When we weren't making enough to hire a team at that point, is like, how do we do the marketing, the sales, finances? Like somebody still got to actually see how much we're making and decide when is the right time to hire. And so for us, and again, it's different for everyone, but for us, obviously what made a huge difference was, partnerships. And so early on, if you don't have the resources, don't be your own bottleneck is the first thing I would say. Because a part of like growing your wealth is also understanding when you're being your own bottleneck. You can only do so much by yourself. And so understanding what you need to do to get to the next level. If you don't have the funds right now to hire somebody on your team, ask yourself, can you at least start with a VA? One virtual assistant. Can you do that? If you can't, that's fine as well. But like really think about what can you do for somebody who can give you resources? Is there somebody you can partner with who can provide those resources, up to a certain point? It's really about understanding who like distribution channels, like what do you need to do to get your offer out there? How do you get people to even know about your offer so that you can start to sell it, right? Again, think about distribution channels, think about partnerships, think about who you could um, help solve a problem for that has a big audience that you could tap into. You don't have money for ads. Again, that's fine. Influencer marketing, partnerships, those are the kind of things that help you when you don't have a lot of money to spend. But you have a good offer, you have a solution that can help a lot of people. That's something that influencers and partners and the right business partners will see. They'll see that potential and they'll want to help you get it out to their audience. It benefits them as well. So think about like if you don't have money to offer, what can you offer to get to that point? But also, understand that that will also take you to the next step. And when you're at that next level, at the next step, now figure out who is it on my team that really will help me grow, right? Some of the core people that you want to think about, if that's not you or that's not somebody who you're already working with, do you have a strong salesperson? again, depending on what it is that you're offering, you need somebody who can actually close sales in your business, right? So you need somebody who is good at sales. You need somebody who is good at operations, just understanding how the company is going to work, how you're going to grow. It's important to have that. You need someone as early as you can get it. You need someone, on your accounting team. You need someone to understand money, even if you don't feel like you have a lot of it. What are your projections, and what are you going to do with that money to make sure that you don't end up spending it all, that you're putting it back into the business to help you get to the next level? And that kind of stuff doesn't come easy. I don't have a finance background. I have, like, I don't even have a math background. Numbers are hard for me, but I know that whatever I lack, I know that I need somebody strong in that area to join the team. And again, it can be a partnership initially, and then you kind of go into hiring people. Really think about what you can offer, really, at the end of the day. And then you also need somebody who can market, your product for you, your offer for you. Assuming that you are the product or service expert, which in most cases we are. Whoever the founder is the domain expert. These are some of the other resources that we need to start thinking about early on, so that you don't become a bottleneck and you don't slow down your growth with this fear of, oh, am I spending too much money? If that does that make sense?
I agree with it. So to what you said, don't be your own bottleneck. What can you outsource now? Who is it that will help me to grow, especially if I know that's not a strong suit? I think those are very good. You talked about in terms of getting your product out there, talking about distribution channels and partnerships. But I just realized we skipped one part. You talked about a business partner.
Yes.
So we got to talk about it because a lot of people are either getting into that. Maybe they have bad partnerships. Maybe they're thinking, I got a potential deal on the table. How did you know that this was the right business partner for you? And what could you tell us that we should look for when you are going to get one?
I think the number one thing that told me that this was the right business partner for me was the fact that we share the same values. When it comes to personal life, when it comes to business life, like, we actually, when we first talked about becoming partners, we didn't know each other very well. But then we met, we started hanging out. I mean, luckily for us, you don't always have a business partner who's local to you. In this case, we were. And so we started hanging out. Our families met. We started having like family hangouts. Our kids are super close today. I'm very, very, very close to his wife. His wife is one of my closest friends. And so I think when you build that personal relationship, again, this is not a one size fits all. That's not necessarily what I'm saying everyone should go do. But just in terms of how I knew this was the right business partner for me, it was not just aligning on the business aspects of things, but really making sure that we share the same core values when it comes to how we want to protect our families, how we want to take care of our families, where we see our future, how do we treat and respect people in general, what is important to us, and as we grow, who are the people that are important to us, how do we want to treat people as you become bigger and you earn more money. Personalities change, and so to understand that we are going to be the same people even when we start to make money together, that was key. And then, of course, after all that, I highly recommend putting everything on paper. You want to put everything that you're envisioning. You're seeing how this partnership is going to go. Once you've built that trust, it's really easy to say, okay, let's just wing it. Now we trust each other. Let's keep going. But it's really important, in order to maintain that trust, to get everything on paper and signed.
Okay, there you go. All right, now we're about to wrap this up because I know you're a busy person. You got to save the world. Got to tell them about it. All right, so let's do this. Let's go rapid fire really quick with a couple of questions, and then you tell the world why they need to be on Hey Levi. So, rapid fire time, 30 seconds each. Here we go. What are some things you do to connect with your family during the week?
Hiking. Oh, during the week, I thought weekend. Hiking is a big one that we do.
Okay.
Making dinner during the week.
Okay, family dinners. All right. If you could go back in time, you had 30 seconds to get in a time machine and go back to high school version of you. What would you tell yourself if you know everything today, like this is present day you? What would you go back and tell 18-year-old version of you?
Read Atomic Habits.
Oh,
Because small 1% changes, 1% improvements every single day without giving up, are a lot more powerful than trying to make big strides every single day, because you will burn out.
All right. Last one. What has been a big, no, second to last one. What has being a business owner taught you about yourself?
That I have more patience than I thought I did. I'm a very impatient person. It's why I make a good and a bad problem solver, because I just don't have the patience. When I will either find the quickest, fastest, most efficient way to solve something, or I will find the right person to do it.
Okay. And then last question. What has been your best investment to date that has produced the greatest ROI? And it could be personal or business.
Oh, that one's a tough one. In myself, the investments that I've made in myself, the big scary ones that I was too scared to make because I just didn't know if I was chasing a dream. But it was really the ones that I knew that were going to get me to that next level where I wanted to be, following somebody and investing in the people that were going to get me to that next level where they were, which I knew was the next step for me. It may not be the end of where I want to be, but as long as they're one step ahead of you and you feel like they know how to get you from where you are to where they're at, investing in yourself, working with mentors, I would say has been the best investment in hindsight, even though they were really scary at the time.
All right. Well, this is your time. Tell the people if they're like, man, she's cool. I like what she's putting out, or I may need that brand AI to really help me. Tell them name, company again, and how can they get in touch with you if they're interested in reaching out, talking, getting it, etc. This is your time.
Yeah, if you want to check out Hey Levi and what it can do for your business, or if you're a white label agency, what it can do for both your agency and for your customers, head on over to heylevi.ai, just HEYLEVI.ai. And you don't even have to give it your email. You don't have to give it really anything. No commitment at all, but there's a way to build a quick brand messaging playbook. It's a little sneak preview of what you actually get within the app and what the app helps you do. But just for fun, just go ahead and create it. It'll give you some insights about your customer avatar, your brand narrative, what your unique value propositions might be, and even a sample little social media post that is just going to give you as an example of what it would create with that kind of brand strategy. Again, just a little taster of it all. But if you're if you believe that your brand is what has been lacking in terms of your growth so far, which hopefully I've done at least a little bit of justice to, in terms of if you weren't already thinking that way, and helping you think more that way after this session. Hopefully you will consider leading from a brand led growth perspective, making sure that everything that you do aligns with that core brand value, core brand voice and vibe that you have, and making sure that anybody who works with you feels like they're a part of that vision and not just that they're being sold to. So that's just my little parting advice. But yeah, if you want to see how AI can help you do any of that, again, just head on over to heylevi.ai, create a free brand playbook. There are some white label options there as well. So yeah, and if you want to reach out to me, there's a little chat widget on the website. Feel free to reach out anytime.
All right, y'all. Y'all heard the genius here, right? And just to do a quick recap, Hey Levi is about strategy, not just helping you to make more content, but about strategy. Why? Because she even broke down using Apple versus Amazon, how there's a difference in how they're positioned, which is a difference in how we perceive them. She talked about how to find a good business partner. A lot of that is going to be around sharing the same values and bonus points that they live close to you, and make sure you put everything on paper, even if you feel like that's your best friend in history. On team hiring, don't be your own bottleneck. What can you outsource now? And who is it that I need to hire that will help me grow? She gave a shout out to Atomic Habits. So if y'all haven't read that, make sure you cop that one. She talked about your money mindset. You do have to make the switch in order to not keep hitting that ceiling. So if you're stuck, it could be the way you're perceiving you making the money, or how it's coming, or how it's affecting you. So check all those things out. This was a dope interview. We are so glad that you were here. She already told y'all, hey, Levi.ai. So we got that clear. Don't y'all hit me up, Cam. I can't. What did she say? She just told it to you, and she spelled it. So y'all get that. So, with all that being said, guys, we thank you guys for listening and tuning in into another episode. Hopefully, you gained something from this. Make sure you share it, comment, and tell us what's your favorite part. We can't wait to release this episode. So, until then, it's going to be our job to go out and try to find more quality people so that we can keep bringing you great content like this. So, in the meantime, everybody take care of yourselves. Peace.
Thanks, guys.